Hey, welcome back to the Precision Data Analytics this fine Sunday evening. As promised, this is another session of Analytics Save My Soul, or Analytics Save My Life, okay? And what I'm talking about specifically is data analytics, and we're going to continue to take a look at the, what are we going to take a look at tonight? We're going to take a look at the, We're going to take a look at the BMW data set, okay? The BMW data set. So here we go. And as promised, our weapon of choice for this evening is what? Is Linux Mint. For all your Linux users out there, this is for you, my friends. And yes, I am using the fish shell, so let's come over here. Let's go to our thingy bob there. Okay, let's widen this out. So let's just take a quick look, as we like to do, at the at our data. You notice the command completion. Okay, so we'll come in here, and I'm going to do something a little funky. I'm going to go in, since we only got a few columns here, okay, we're going to come in here, and we're going to convert. We're going to do our data cleaning right here, okay, our cleaning up our column name right here, okay, so we're going to say, write out Control O, yes, and Control X. There we go. So now what we did is we just did a very quick data clean. Okay, now we're going to, since we're using UV, by the way, if you haven't tried UV for project management, it really is pretty sweet. I mean, it really is blazingly fast. I think it's written in Rust and compiled. I mean, it downloads Python packages in a blink of an eye. Now, just a word about Package Manager. If it's just you hanging on your system, and you're only using, one version of Python, or one version of all Python's packages, you really don't need a package manager, okay? If you're in an environment where you have different clients who want to use different versions of Python, then you need a package manager, and you also need maybe certain versions of packages like Pandas, okay, something like that. But if you're just an average Joe like me, I really don't need any package manager, okay? I could just use GitHub to create my projects and have a separate directory for each project. But anyway, so we got here now. See, as you can see, we've already started a package. So we're going to run, go to UV, run, and we already see we got the command completion. There. And we're going to do a few scatter plots. Of course, as always, don't be bashful. Stop by the chat session and say hi, okay? Now, one thing that's kind of odd about the default setup for Linux Mint is that it doesn't. What does it do? It doesn't have any virtual desktop, which is kind of odd. Okay. Sure, notify me. Okay, so here we go. So we need to reload this, all right? Let's close this. And we'll start with what? That's right, we'll start with a couple very simple plots. We can look at distribution of price. You can look at distribution of mileage. We can look at distribution of tax, MPG, and so let's start. Let's just start from left to right. So, and because we are using Quattro, we can produce a document out of this, I believe. I mean, we are using Quattro, right? So what the trouble is here, right, we got, I want to open up another terminal window, right? We don't have it. That's kind of annoying, isn't it? Virtual keyboard, image writer. Let's open up a Alacrity, okay? Good. Very nice. So we do have Quattro, right? Boop boo, SUDO. O. Install. Because what Quattro allows us to do, allows us to create different documents, formats, okay? Unable to locate. How about UV run, or no, okay. So we're not going to, this means we're not going to run anything, Let's look at distro price, okay? We come down there like this, and again, all we're using is simple Seaborn pack. I probably didn't spell distribution right, did I? IBUTI, is that right? All right, good. Distribution of price, so we're going to say SNS dot OT, okay, X equals PRICE, comma, data equals BMW, okay? And there's our price distribution, all right? And we can do the same thing over here. We come over here. So let's go take a look at the distribution of the box plot, all right? You can see we got this crazy stuff, this crazy trailing now. So the median price is somewhere around 20,000 something. I'm not sure these are. I think, for instance, the mile per this is liters, and this is actually not. This is actually like what, liters per kilometer or something like that. I don't think this is actually miles per gallon, because some of the prices don't make any sense. Okay, now let's do something a little funky next. Let's say transmission. All right. Let's do a box plot, but let's use the hue function. Okay. Our goal here is to use as little programming as we actually have, because hue, if you're familiar with R, hue is sort of like the group or the color function or the fill function. Let's see if this works then. Transmission is not, so it's also a mystery when we have to use the so now we got something. Now we got it by transmission type. So we got a little different thing here. Now we could come up here, for instance, and I'm gonna hate myself for doing this. Let's put a hue up over here and see what happens. Probably not what you're expecting. Okay. Unmatched? What do you mean unmatched? Now this is kind of spiffy, but it's not particularly helpful. Okay, but nonetheless, you get some vague idea of what the distribution actually looks like. Okay. So now let's do the same plots. Okay. Look at the distribution of mileage. Now it says mileage, but is it mileage or is it actually kilometer? M-I-L-E-A-G-E. Well, maybe, okay. Let's look at this. String literal. Okay, so here's a distribution by mileage. This is sort of interesting, isn't it? You can see, so this would be the count of the occurrences for each one of these transmission types. You can see the highest count is for the semi-automatic. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Let's go over here. Let's change this to a box plot. So now we got the distribution once. Of course, as always, my friends, hey, don't be bashful. Come back and say hi, okay? So we got the distribution of mileage. Okay, so the largest distribution of, so I believe this is like odometer mileage, how many mileage it's got on it. Okay. So again, we come up here next and say MPG. Now, engine size should probably be a factor, but we're not going to worry about it, okay? Okay. Distribution of MPG. Now, I don't think this is kilometers, I don't know, per liter, is that what it is? kg per, I think that is, how is car mileage measured in Europe? So this is liters per 100 Okay. Oh, shoot. What do you want to do here? So what do you think about these plots? Are these plots helpful? So again, uh, let's get rid of this here. That's interesting, but I think it's a little confusing. Okay, that was strictly a demonstration. Let's rerun this here now. So you can see most of the cars are around, you know, uh, 50 kilograms or something like that. Okay. All right. So most of the whatever it is, kilometers, whatever it is, you know, 100 kilometers per, liters per 100 kilometers, whatever you want to say, uh, is about. You got some crazy stuff. I find it very hard to believe that there's a car that gets 100 kilometers per liter. Uh, let's come over to Kaggle. Let's see what this actually. What this value actually is. We can look at the data real quick and see what's going on. Sign in data sets. Do I have to sign in for the data set? Let's see. The BMW data set. Okay, that's region, so that's not it. I bet it's this one here. So that is it. Right, price, transmission, distance driven in miles, that's interesting, fuel type, tax. Okay, I find that very hard to believe, but that's correct. But okay, they're saying it's miles per gallon, but this doesn't make any sense, does it? I don't think any cars. Well, you know, unless it's fuel type. Oh no. Okay, so let's take a look at the distribution. Okay. Mm, you know, interesting, but it's not like we could look. So the highest, you know, got some outliers here, which is kind of strange. Most of them are around, you know, 50 to 100 miles per gallon. I find it hard to believe we actually have vehicles that high, but that's That's a different. That's a subject for a different matter. So here's a question for you. Uh, okay, here's a question for you. What what affects the price the most? Uh, okay, so here we go with the fuel type. So this will be the MPGs. I find it very hard to have a car with. I find it very hard to believe we actually have automobiles that get 100 miles per gallon. All right. I think that's, 100 kilometers would make sense. That'd be 62 miles to the gallon. I'm just not convinced that this is really the case. All right. So now let's get a little funky. Let's just do something. Again, as always, stop by the chat session and say hi. It's also helpful to know someone's actually out there watching me. All right. Uh, PG. Car price and MPG. So what? Compare MPG versus price. This is fairly simple to do, right? Dot plot. All right. X equals, what's going to be the bigger number? See, E, I'm thinking, comma. So the question is, what affects the price the most? PG, comma, equals BMW. All right. Let's reverse these. So I know I got a better one than that someplace. Okay. Okay, just for the fun of it, what can we say here? So the price for most of the cars falls in this between 25 and 75 miles per gallon range. That's not really what we're interested in, is it? We want to know what influences the price the most. So I think what I'm going to do over here is, let's do this, HUE equals this. Fuel type, again, what do you think? Okay, so you can see, now this isn't really that useful, is it? Let's come up here. So what we want to know is what's the biggest influence on price, okay? I believe it's probably mileage, all right? Of course, what would be neat, is to see if we can predict the price based on mileage, okay? This may be the best one here, okay? So, what you can see is the biggest thing here is the biggest thing that affects price is mileage. Mileage increases, price decreases, okay? Let's take a look. I also don't know what else could affect it. I mean, that's, you know, well, I mean, the only other thing, of course, obviously, is there a correlation between mileage and the year of its manufacture? There's an interesting question. I mean, you would certainly expect so, right? You would certainly expect so again, I want to point out to you here that mileage price. Again, all we're doing is basic all we're doing is so what cars hold the value the most? Well, it appears like the semi-automatic and the automatic hold the price the most. The interest of, well, if you really look at them, the manual kind of holds its price, doesn't it? It decreases a little bit, but you can see like the automatic and the semi-automatic are the ones that really lose their value over time, right? So what were we just saying? Year versus price? Is that what we're saying? All right, so we're going to say what. So we want to know what affects price the most. Okay. All right. And the other thing is this. Year. And of course, you would expect, you know, older cars to be worth less, to lose value, right? Right? As you would expect, let's reverse this and see what this looks like. Let's put price. Let's put price on the y-axis, no, on the x-axis, and year on the y-axis. Let's see how this looks. This is kind of cool. I'm not sure if it's helpful, but it certainly is kind of cool. So we can look at the price and the year. So obviously the newer the car, the more the value. And it would appear that, and so which ones hold the most value? Well, so this is kind of interesting. What else can we look at here? So, you know, I would say this is a pretty good night's work, if I do say so myself. I'd say it's a pretty doggone good night's work. We got a couple really nice plots going here. This one here is particularly nice. I particularly like this one here because it clearly shows that the biggest factor in the price of a car is its mileage, and of course it appears that of course down here you can see uh, the price is affected by the age of the car, which makes sense, right? The newer the car, the greater the value in the car. Okay, so anyway, there you have it, a very brief session of how to analyze BMW car data using nothing more than seaborne plots. Okay.